Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca Morton. My pronouns are she, her. I am the Director of Artist and Studio Programs here at Baltimore Clayworks, and we are thrilled that you all have joined us. I would like to acknowledge that I am joining from my office, located on Piscataway and Susquehannock land, currently known as Baltimore, Maryland. It is my pleasure to welcome you to our virtual studio tour given today by Brady Fanning. Brady Fanning is a ceramic artist born in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and received his Master's of Fine Arts from the Eskenazi School of Art, Architecture, and Design at Indiana University in Bloomington. He received his Bachelor of Fine Arts with a focus in ceramics from Purdue University in Fort Wayne in 2021. With teaching experience in ceramics and 3D design, Brady combines technical expertise, pushing the boundaries of ceramics as an art practice with the creation of intricate ceramic sculptures. His work has been included in recent juried exhibitions from the Current and Charges exhibition at the Cal Soloway Gallery during the 2023 NCECA in Cincinnati, Ohio, and the State of Clay in Indiana at the Indianapolis Art Center in Indianapolis, Indiana. Brady received a Best in Show award at the 2024 National Juried Show, Hot and Sweaty Summer National at Backspace Gallery in Bloomington, Indiana, and Best in Show with the Chapter Career Award of $2,000 from the National Society of Arts and Letters Visual Arts Competition and Exhibition at the FAR Center for Contemporary Art in Bloomington, Indiana. He is currently the Lorena Salter Fellow here at Baltimore Clayworks. For more information about our artist talks, please visit our virtual library at baltimoreclayworks.org, and I will now turn it over to Brady.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to my studio. I do have to say that most of the sculptures that I've been making currently are a lot of grown sculptures that have a lot of additive elements, and the whole central part of what I do is the wheel. So the way my studio is set up, my wheel is stationed like right in the center of this, and I have all of these different things surrounding it so that I can grab things easily. And I built this beautiful table so that once I'm done with them, I can put all of the sections onto this table, and a lot of flat surfaces that I also have are like this crate that is temporarily here. I have this table also here. And once I start throwing all these sections, I kind of assemble them afterwards. Trim them. Most of the things that I make have a lot of drawings that like start them out. So I have one of them here. I don't know if you guys can see this clearly, but when I start drawing these out, I know that the drawings are two-dimensional. A lot of people kind of like draw images of what they want, kind of with like shadows or things. But the fact that I know that I'm using a wheel means that everything that I make, even if it's two-dimensional, will always be the same all the way around. So I typically draw these one half. I'll like kind of vaguely make the other half, and then once I'm done making the first half of this drawing, there's actually a fold in this paper, but I'll like fold it and I'll burnish it down so that the image that I drew transfers over to the other side, making it the full shape. And then I kind of go in with a ruler and I'll put it next to it and I'll decide how big I want it to be. And that's how I'll decide eventually how, big it is. Uh, a lot of the ones recently have a lot of collapsible elements. So all of these sections I will assemble it very soon, but things like this, they fit inside of the top of them in different ways. So I have to kind of decipher what I want on this drawing to be singular and also how it's going to fit. And I'll scale those sections up separately on each drawing. So a lot of them have been designed this way due to me being an undergrad and making these large scale sculptures, which these are also large scale, but the ones then were a lot larger. And I wasn't thinking in my head, where am I going to take this? How am I going to store it? How big is this crate? How big does the crate have to be in order for me to fit it inside? And how bigger is it going to take up space? So I've been really planning everything out 10 times harder than I was then. So this is one of the most recent ones that I have not glazed. All of the ones that I have in my upcoming show for Baltimore Clayworks, I have not glazed yet, but just filled up my kiln schedule. It's very chaotic. So that's the next Hell Week on my list. This is the, I think, third sculpture in the series that I'm doing lately. This is one section, and then on the inside, it's perfectly measured so that this one can fit inside of it, where it doesn't clearly look like it's two separate things. So this one goes on top of here. right. And then I've been doing a lot of like I don't want them to be seen as vessels, but I know that I have been making, like the spire to a church, if you will, of my work. I've been making a lot of these like pointed tipped sculptural toppers, but I hate calling it a topper because I don't want to keep tying it back to like the lineage of pottery because I want it to be seen as sculpture. So this one is the very elaborate lid that will eventually go up here. And then I had this turn the opposite way. Whoops. This is how it should be seen. And then there is two outside parts that fit them here. And again, like most of this was because of storage. I could have made this one thing, but it's just going to get very, very, very chaotic if it is solid, because then I can't really transport it without breaking it. And then if it breaks in half, it's not really the best idea. So this is what I've been doing. All the other ones are over here, but I don't know if I should put those. This was easy to put together, which is why I chose this one. So, a lot of these things that I've been making, I've been using a lot of press molds, and over the course of the past week, I know that press molds are like kind of my brand, but I recently have been, I just broke that. I recently have been having trouble using them because they take so long to create. So I made every single part that I've made for the recent press molds into slip casting molds so that I can make instead of one at once and like keep making them and put two parts together, I can make six at one time. They're already done. They're ready to go. And I recently just found out that slip casting molds actually shrinks less than press molds because of the fact that there's less moisture inside of the press mold, like clay, that it doesn't shrink as much. So a lot of these press molds are over here. And the good thing about press molds is that when you make them, if they're very large scale, like this one, they're kind of universal in ways. So I can use them on my sculptures for what they were intended for. But in doing so, I can also use them for different things. So uh, this was designed as a weapon, and I have cut it in half, and I put them on all the sculptures that I have. This was one thing, and this was the side part to it. So when this is profiled towards you, these kind of go on the outsides of it, creating this like weapon slash handled objects. And what I mean by it can be translated into other work is that when I just had work on the red carpet for The Devil Wears Prada 2, I actually used the central section of this as the purse handle for Utica when she wore this on that. And when I was first doing this, I didn't realize that I would be using all these parts for all these different things in different ways. And when I was giving my PowerPoint for my artist talk, I had like photos of all of these different parts seen from one thing in different orientations on all these different pieces that were in like this one PowerPoint. And I think that that's the really exciting part about having molds. And I don't think that I would have a visual language today if I didn't start doing this because the fact that I can use the same parts over and over and over, it made me have like a universal style that I never had before, which is why it was beneficial for me to keep using these. And it has become probably the most time consuming and worst part about making what I make. But that's why I hope that subcasting these instead of course holding them will help me cut time in six rather than one. Putting this back is like so moving on to once I get all of these done and they're finally in this bisqueware state, I feel like I can breathe for once because it's very stressful when they're just like sitting around like as clay. So after I get done with this, I think that my favorite part other than building them is probably replacing them parts. So this is one of the ones that I plan on using this method in the final outcome of what these sculptures are going to be. I haven't really decided what colors I'm going to do with them yet, and I kind of the reason I let them sit here for so long as this pieces is because I kind of like think about what I want them to look like and what I see them as. Because each piece, because of the way that it looks and all the spikes and whatnot about it, they kind of give themselves like personalities to me. They don't necessarily speak to me, but I do think about them constantly when I'm in my studio working. So I will eventually this week be glazing them. And I've been using a lot of airbrushing with underglaze. It's kind of difficult because the airbrush gun is so tiny and there's such a little space for the underglaze to go through that I have to water them down a lot in order to get it to go through the gun. But before I was using kind of like a thicker atomizer, and the spray was just it was too violent and it was too uncontrollable. So I finally got an actual spray gun, which was more annoying, but it really does get the exact color in the exact space that I want, and it's way more controllable. So for things like this, I like to glaze them with all these gradients and having like specific highlights and then dark like lowlights. And in between this, it's like I'll use like four tones. Like there's like a bright yellow, and then around that is chartreuse, and then around that is like light green, and then the deepest one is dark green. So there's kind of like a range of this gradient because if it was just two colors, it wouldn't look like it was glowing enough. So I really appreciate the way that I can use this in a way that makes it seem like it's glowing in certain areas. And once I'm finished, I kind of with these, I don't think I used them with these because these were functional versions of my sculptures, but um, with all the sculptures that you see behind you, I've been using glaze as a way to accentuate like the spikes the way that you would see like people when they wear armor. Like armor would look very reminiscent, or my glaze would look reminiscent of armor when I'm using it around these like organic parts. And they'll always kind of like, I don't know, I guess I keep explaining to people the way that lingerie would accentuate the human body. I'm using that as a way to use glaze on the work to kind of like bring out certain parts of it. Like I want the spikes to be like the metallic part, and I want it to kind of like flow around it the way that fabric would kind of like stretch around these like organic parts of the human body in different ways. And for a while, I was doing a lot of like it was a mixture between sci-fi and fantasy, and right now I feel like I'm more into the fantasy side of it. But um, when I got here, I kind of lost a little bit of access to vinyl cutters and CNC routing. So having the vinyl cutter to be able to like 3D model program something into Rhino and then be able to have the vinyl cutter cut it out, I would be able to make perfect circles, all these different things, and put them on the work, and then create these like motherboard-esque subway system map inspired designs, making it look like technology. So I feel like I'm moving a little bit away from that due to losing access to those things. I can still do it like manually, but it does take a lot longer. Um, but I think that all of these don't really scream. They scream sci-fi and I would say an alien way, but not necessarily a cyborg or technological way. I could make them that, but I feel like it's not. That would be forced, not natural. Um, yeah, that's how I would end it. Basically. Yeah, thanks, guys.